The following was produced for the Focus on the Family daily radio broadcast featuring psychologist and author Dr. James Dobson. This program is entitled God's Sovereignty and last aired in October of 2005. And now, here's how this broadcast got underway.
What if we could go to the other side of eternity, beyond the line of eternity, and just sit in the presence of God for 10 minutes, just 10 minutes, and then come back here and finish out the rest of our lives? What would it change about the rest of your lives if you had 10 minutes to do that? It would change everything. The change would be total and it would be complete. Well, as a matter of fact, because Focus on Family is so incredibly close to God, the Almighty agreed to throw in a door prize for this group, this gathering, just a once-in-eternity opportunity here. If you look underneath your chairs, one of you has underneath there a 10-minute trip to heaven to spend that opportunity with God. As a matter of fact, somebody cheated. They checked their chair last night, and we already have a declared winner. His name is Joe. As a matter of fact, Joe's up there right now, and I want to tell you what Joe's going through. See, here's Joe sitting with God, and this is what he first says to God. God, I got 10 minutes here with you. Let me ask you this. Do you know everything? And God says, do you doubt it? Joe says, well, no, but how do you do it? Doesn't it get all kind of mixed up in your head? And God says, I think you're getting the two of us confused there, Joe. You do that a lot, you know. You really shouldn't do that so much. Let me put it this way. Things get mixed up and chaotic in your head a lot, but not in mine. Joe, my car never runs out of gas. I've never been late for a plane. And when you try to balance a checkbook every time you sit down to do it, I just can't bear to watch. So I distract myself by counting backwards to infinity. And Joe says, well, answer me this. Tell me just one thing about me that I don't know about myself. And God says, well, you have 4.5 grams of dirt under your left third toenail. Joe says, you got to be kidding. You keep track of things like that? Don't you have better things to monitor? And God says, well, I have lots of things to monitor that are better than toenail dirt, but it doesn't bother me to know about it. It's all part of omniscience. You see, Joe, I know absolutely everything about you. Joe says, could I see you answer some prayers? Sure. Well, when? I just did. What? I just answered prayers. Well, whose prayer did you answer? Well, actually, I answered 924,000 prayers just then. Half the time, people don't even know I'm doing it. I'm kind of tricky about some of this. A very high percentage of the prayers I answer are not even from adults. It's the kids, you know. They're the ones with the faith. When I answer their prayers, they usually see it right away. Well, what percentage of prayers that you just answered right now were from kids? Well, to be precise, 42.576884930059987296094325547. That's enough, Joe says. That's enough. God, that's the best thing I ever did. What, answer those prayers? No. Make kids. Kids are the greatest. They perfect praise. Have you ever read that verse? Well, never mind. Back at creation, one of the angels suggested I just make everybody adults straight away, you know, bypass that teenage thing. But that angel was wrong. Kids are great, the best. That angel's now back down in middle management. Joe says, how many stars are there? God says, Joe, you only have 10 minutes. Well, how many galaxies then? Joe, you only have 10 minutes. But do you want to see me annihilate a galaxy? Oh, sure, cool. That'd be great. Well, you see that one way out there toward the edge of space? It hasn't been discovered yet. Nobody will even miss it. I just made it because I like the way it sparkled. Watch this. There, you can't see it now, right? How'd you do that? You don't want to know. You ever heard of antimatter? Joe says, I'm a physician, you know. God says, is that supposed to impress me? I'm a physician too. You want to compare credentials? Success rates, diagnostic accuracy. Pick a topic, any topic. Joe, I just lost a patient this last week. She was an older woman from the nursing home. Her name was Catherine, but you know, she was ready to go. You got any status report on her? Can you tell me she's doing okay? Oh yeah, she's fine. You should see her. She's taking up tennis, gotten quite good. She's hoping to get a shot at Steffi Graf someday. Joe, how much time do I have left? God, just a few seconds, but of course around here that could also mean 50 trillion years, but in your case it's just a few seconds. Joe, do you watch me all the time? Sure I do. Other people sometimes watch you too. You're really quite an entertaining fellow. Joe, medicine's getting kind of stressful these days. Yeah, so I noticed. What should I do about it? Well, Joe, I'm glad you asked. One thing that would help a lot is if you were to stop using me as a last resort. Everything you need, I've already provided. Trust me. Use my wisdom. Use my power. Pray. Joe, you really need to pray more. And love your patients. On your best days, I'll give you great joy. And on your worst days, I'll get you through it. I will always get you through it. God, one last question. How do I get down from here? Oh, I guess that was a silly question. Hi, honey. You'll never guess what just happened to me. What? You look sunburned. You've been golfing again. Oh, no, it's not golfing. Maybe you better sit down. I'll tell you all about it, but first, I think we better pray. If you were Joe, how would you walk the rest of your life? Might I suggest to you that everything that you do, every attitude that you had, every thought, every opinion about people and about time and about eternity and about human effort would be changed. We can't go to the other side and sit with God for 10 minutes, but we can know a lot more about Him than we've previously settled for. And the best way, perhaps the only way, to go into an uncertain future is to trust in the sovereignty and the power and the majesty and the precision and the genius and the intimacy and the caring of an almighty God. No other approach will work. No other approach makes any sense whatsoever. And He says, put your hand in my hand and don't let go, not even for a second. Let's look at some things that we know in medicine and astronomy and in physics about the sovereignty of God. Look at the sun. If you took a pinhead and you heated the head of that pin to the temperature of the core of the sun, it would kill every person within 1,000 miles. Did you hear that? Now let me ask you this. Could Jesus swallow that pin? Could God swallow that pin? Yes. The answer to that question is yes. Now somebody that is that powerful, what does that tell you about your ability to trust Him in terms of His ability to do things that we can't even begin to imagine? The sun is an enormous hydrogen bomb that just keeps on exploding. I mentioned 2 years ago that every second 4 million tons of the sun is converted from mass to energy, and we get 1/1000th of that. And yet that is how we live. That is precisely how we live. So think of a God who set it up that way and put that mediocre-sized sun out there that is a continuous explosion, the atomic bomb, and we get 1/1000th of it, but it's precisely the right amount. You know, if our orbit was like 3% further out or further in, we'd either be baked or we'd be an ice age. God did something very interesting. Everything that you see out there in science and astronomy and cosmology or in quantum mechanics or in the human body or biology or chemistry or physics, God's fingerprints are all over it, and He's teaching us that we can trust Him. Let's look at black holes. Consider God and black holes. All galaxies have black holes. Our Milky Way galaxy apparently has many of them. The number of black holes in the universe might even be larger than the number of visible stars. To get a feeling for how intense a black hole is, to make a star into a black hole, you'd have to collapse the radius of our sun from 450,000 miles down to 2 miles. So it could fit in Manhattan, okay? Now a sun that had that kind of density would weigh more per teaspoon than Mount Everest does.